Good morning. The public inquiry into the Post Office IT scandal will today question an investigator whose work led to criminal proceedings against branch managers. The hearings began almost 2 years ago, but these latest evidence sessions are set against a backdrop of increased scrutiny about the miscarriage of justice triggered by the broadcast of an ITV drama. Deirdre Connolly from Strabane was one of a number of people from Northern Ireland who were wrongly accused and had to borrow money from her family to pay more than £15,000 to the Post Office. Yesterday, the government announced a new law to swiftly exonerate and compensate victims. Deirdre says the Prime Minister did not go far enough.
There's no details, no nothing. I don't have much faith in it at the minute. The convictions could have been overturned in one swoop. There's people sitting there waiting on their convictions to be overturned, and they're fighting, they're jumping through hoops for government, for a post office to try and get their convictions overturned. And some of them last maybe from 20 years ago. And there's always some obstacle. That would have been the best thing.
Solicitor Michael Madden says he currently represents 20 people affected in Northern Ireland, but that more people have been coming forward in the past week.
It's been unbelievable, really, the response. And I've had one lady in particular who is very, very confident, has a very strong application to the Court of Appeal and potentially to this new scheme that's proposed. But since the drama, there have been a number of people who have come forward to me. At least half a dozen people have come forward to me. As far as I'm aware, 3 people have got to the Court of Appeal stage. I would hope some of the people who have come forward to me in the last week will add to that number.
Let's get into our top story this morning. The public inquiry into the Post Office IT scandal will today question an investigator whose work led to criminal proceedings against branch managers. The hearings began almost 2 years ago, but these latest evidence sessions are set against a backdrop of increased scrutiny about the miscarriage of justice, which has been triggered by the broadcast of that ITV drama. Deirdre Connolly from Strabane was one of a number of people from Northern Ireland who were wrongly accused. She lost her job at Caleta Post Office in 2010 and had to borrow money from her family to pay more than £15,000 to the Post Office. Deirdre's been speaking to our North West reporter Kieran Turish, and she feels the Prime Minister did not go far enough yesterday.
Firstly, I didn't hear an apology. Secondly, it lasted 30 seconds. There's no details, no nothing. I don't have much faith in it at the minute.
Why do you feel so upset?
Well, I thought that it could have, at least the convictions could have been overturned in one swoop today. There's people sitting there waiting on their convictions to be overturned, and they're fighting, they're jumping through hoops for government, for a post office to try and get their convictions overturned. And some of them last maybe from 20 years ago. And there's always some obstacle. That would have been the best thing. As for the GLO scheme, I am not, and so I'm grateful for that. But I want my claim, full claim. I submitted my claim in December, so the 40 days, which I still think is too long because all the stuff's there. The forensic accountant, the psychiatrist report, medical records, everything's there. So they should have a decision shortly.
In terms of his acknowledgement that this was one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in British legal history, does that in any way assuage your concerns?
It should be their concern. They should be doing more to sort it out now and then move on. And there has to be a lot of accountability. I know Paula Venables, she got her CB taken off her, or she gave it back. But there's investigators out there that put the likes of me and hundreds of others through hell while they were interviewing us or interrogating us. They have to answer. Others that were covered up. It's a cover up from the very top.
In terms of emotionally, how do you feel on a day like today?
The other night I was emotionally drained, to be honest. I couldn't look at my phone, I couldn't answer phone. After watching the drama and all the media hype about it this week, it's been tough. It has been tough. I haven't been sleeping.
That's Deirdre Connolly speaking to our reporter Kieran Turish there. Well, Solicitor Michael Madden represents 20 people affected in Northern Ireland, and he's told this programme that more have come forward to him this week since the ITV drama Mr Bates versus the Post Office was broadcast. I spoke to Michael just before we came on air, and I began by asking him if the government plan to exonerate and compensate people who were falsely accused will apply to Northern Ireland.
Well, the hope is that it will. The announcement that's been made through the Prime Minister in Downing Street is that it will be UK-wide, so it should apply to Northern Ireland. The big question mark really is how that will be put into effect. Obviously, we'll have the situation here where Stormont isn't up and running, so I don't know if that is going to be an issue. But if the political will is there's no reason why between Westminster and Stormont legislation could be brought in to enact the plans that are put forward.
Would it apply to many of your clients?
It would apply certainly to at least 2 clients that I would have, potentially more. There are other people who, and perhaps the best thing about this scheme that's been introduced is that it might give more encouragement, and it should give more encouragement to people who haven't come forward, who have found it too difficult to come forward up to now, to really come forward, because what's being proposed is a blanket overturning of convictions. So we'll have to wait and see what the detail of how that'll work out, but that's the intention of the scheme. So it's a blanket-wide overturning of convictions. It would also apply potentially to anybody who has sadly passed away since the conviction. So, for example, if a case is brought to the Court of Appeal, that can be done on the behalf of a family member. So there's no reason why that couldn't be done potentially under this scheme that's being proposed as well.
What detail would you like to hear about the compensation scheme that's been announced as well?
Well, the compensation scheme, it's a welcome move. And again, we have to see the detail before we can make any full consideration or analysis of what's been proposed. But the compensation scheme that's being proposed will apply to anybody who will get their convictions overturned. It'll also apply to, it'll enhance really the schemes that are already in place. So the hope is that once these schemes come in, it'll make things a lot quicker for people to get what they're entitled to. It's
been an extraordinary, really, number of days since the Mr. Bates versus the Post Office drama went out. Have you had anyone come forward to you in Northern Ireland since that, or do you expect maybe more people to come forward now?
I have. It's been unbelievable, really, the response, and even in the last week, I've had a number of people come forward to contact me. I've had one lady in particular who I'm very, very confident has a very strong application to the Court of Appeal and potentially to this new scheme that's proposed. So even now today, after years and years of these cases going through the courts, people who have very good cases still are only coming forward now. So it's great that it is happening now, and it's about time, and it's great that people are now getting the courage and the confidence to come forward and get something done to get their reputations restored. Mm-hmm. But since the drama, there have been a number of people who have come forward to me. At least half a dozen people have come forward to me, and in Northern Ireland, the numbers being reported of people being prosecuted were 23 under the Horizon scandal, and 19 of those people were convicted. So, as far as I'm aware, 3 people have got to the Court of Appeal stage. I would hope some of the people who have come forward to me in the last week will add to that number, but that still leaves a number of people who have not come forward yet who should be able to get their convictions overturned.
You've obviously worked on these cases for a long time, Michael. What was it about this ITV drama that has, pierced public consciousness, I suppose, in a way that hasn't happened before?
It's the human face put on the case by the drama. It's probably been difficult for people when they read about computer glitches and computer bugs really to understand what that means and how that could affect somebody's lives. So the fact that people have been able to see the devastation and the slow burn destruction on people's lives, it perhaps when somebody hears in the news, for example, a murder, people can very quickly understand how that can destroy people's lives and families, and what impact that has. Perhaps it's been difficult to really understand a case like this, and it is a complex case. So it's been fantastic for people to really understand what has happened to people and the devastation it's caused.
That's Solicitor Michael Madden, who represents 20 people affected in Northern Ireland by the Post Office IT scandal. There's a live page over on the BBC News main page this morning online as well, if you want to keep up with any developments there throughout the day.